Have you ever wondered why some people seem to effortlessly draw others in, while you're left wondering what invisible quality you're missing? You see them at parties, in coffee shops, at work. They're not necessarily the most conventionally attractive people in the room. Yet somehow, everyone gravitates toward them like they possess some mysterious magnetic force, and you can't help but ask yourself, what do they have that I don't? For years, I asked myself the same question. I tried everything society told me would make me more appealing. New clothes, different hairstyles, even practicing cool conversation starters in the mirror. But nothing bridged that gap between me and the naturally magnetic people I observe, until I realized something profound. Magnetism has almost nothing to do with how you look, and everything to do with how you feel. Pause. Think about that for a moment. The most attractive quality isn't visible in the mirror. It's an internal state that radiates outward. I'm going to share the exact journey I took to transform from someone who constantly wondered, why not me, to someone who now regularly hears, there's just something about you that draws people in. And I did it without changing a single physical feature. When I first started dating, I believed the narrative we've all been fed, that attraction is primarily about physical appearance. I spent hours perfecting my look before dates, rehearsing clever lines, and trying to become a version of myself that I thought would be more appealing. But something always felt off. Even when I managed to make a good first impression, connections rarely deepened. I was exhausting myself trying to maintain this carefully constructed image, and ironically, pushing people away in the process. The turning point came after a particularly disastrous date where I had tried so hard to impress that I barely remembered what we talked about. I went home feeling hollow and frustrated. That night, I asked myself a question that changed everything. What if the problem isn't how I look to others, but how I feel about myself? It was a confronting thought, because the truth was, I didn't feel particularly magnetic. I didn't feel worthy of deep attention or connection, and that invisible belief was sabotaging me more than any physical flaw ever could. So I made a commitment. Instead of trying to change my appearance or perfect my social performance, I would focus on transforming my relationship with myself. This journey unfolded in 3 distinct phases. Phase 1. Presence. The first thing I noticed about truly magnetic people was that they seemed fully there in every interaction. They weren't checking their phones, scanning the room for someone more interesting, or lost in their own heads. They made you feel like you were the only person in the room. I realized I rarely gave people this gift. I was constantly distracted by my insecurities, by my desire to impress, by my mental checklist of what to say next. So I began practicing radical presence. In every conversation, I would catch myself whenever my mind wandered and gently bring it back. I would notice the color of someone's eyes, the subtle shifts in their facial expressions, the energy behind their words. I stopped rehearsing my next line and started truly listening. And something miraculous happened. People began to open up to me in ways they never had before. One woman told me after our 3rd date, I feel like I can tell you anything. It's like you're really seeing me. That's when I understood that people are starving for genuine attention in our distracted world. When you offer someone your complete presence, it's like giving them water in a desert. Phase 2. Self-acceptance. Here's an uncomfortable truth I had to face. I couldn't expect others to be magnetized by me when I couldn't even accept myself. The constant self-criticism, the harsh inner dialogue, the feeling that I was somehow fundamentally flawed, all of it created an invisible barrier between me and authentic connection. So I began the hard work of befriending myself. I started a daily practice of acknowledging my strengths without diminishing them. I learned to treat my insecurities with compassion rather than judgment. When negative thoughts arose about my appearance or personality, I would ask myself, would I speak this way to someone I love? The answer was always no. Gradually, the relationship with myself began to transform. I stopped seeing myself as a project to fix and started experiencing myself as a person worthy of love and connection, exactly as I am. And here's what happened. My entire energy shifted. The desperate need for validation that had been driving my interactions dissolved. I became more relaxed, more authentic, more willing to reveal my true self. A friend noticed this change and said something I'll never forget. You seem so comfortable in your own skin now. That's the paradox of magnetism. When you stop trying to pull people toward you and instead cultivate a sense of wholeness within yourself, you naturally become more attractive. Phase 3. Vulnerability. This was perhaps the most counterintuitive discovery of all. I had always believed that to be magnetic, I needed to project strength, confidence, and flawlessness. I thought vulnerability was a weakness to be hidden at all costs. But I noticed that the most captivating people I knew were willing to show their authentic selves, including their uncertainties, their struggles, their humanity. They weren't performing performing perfection. They were offering connection through shared humanity. So I began experimenting with showing up more truthfully in my interaction. When I felt nervous on a date, instead of trying to mask it, I would simply acknowledge it. I'm actually feeling a bit nervous right now because I'm really enjoying our conversation and want to stay present with you. The effect was immediate and profound. When I stopped hiding behind a facade of perfection, people could finally see me, not some carefully curated version, but the real, imperfect, alive human being behind the social mask. And here's what's fascinating. The very things I had been trying to hide became the bridges to deeper connection. One night, after sharing something I was genuinely struggling with, someone I was dating told me, "Thank you for trusting me with that. It makes me feel safe to be real with you too." That's when I understood that vulnerability isn't just about exposing your wound. It's about creating a space where two people can be authentically themselves together. So let me summarize what I discovered on this journey to becoming magnetic without changing my look. First, presence, being fully engaged in each interaction, offering others the rare gift of your complete attention. Second, self-acceptance, cultivating a genuine sense of worthiness that doesn't depend on external validation. And third, vulnerability, having the courage to show up authentically, creating space for real connection rather than perfect performance. These three elements created a fundamental shift in how I show up in dating and relationships. And the results have been nothing short of transformative. People often ask me, "But isn't this all just about confidence?" And yes, confidence is part of it, but not the shallow confidence that comes from believing you're better than others or that you look perfect. I'm talking about the deep confidence that emerges when you know your worth isn't dependent on external validation. When you no longer need someone else's desire to feel valuable, you paradoxically become more desirable. Now, I want to be clear about something. This journey isn't about becoming some idealized version of yourself that will appeal to everyone. It's about becoming more fully yourself and attracting people who resonate with your authentic energy. Some people still won't be drawn to you, and that's not only okay, it's essential. Magnetism isn't about universal appeal. It's about authentic resonance with the right people. So how do you begin this journey for yourself? Start by noticing where your attention goes during interaction. Are you fully present, or are you caught in a web of self-conscious thoughts? Practice bringing yourself back to the moment again and again. Notice the details of the person in front of you. Listen not just to respond, but to understand. Then begin the sacred work of befriending yourself. Notice the habitual ways you reject or criticize yourself. Speak to yourself with the same kindness you would offer a dear friend. And finally, experiment with small acts of vulnerability. Share something genuine about yourself that you might normally keep hidden. Notice how it feels and notice how others respond to your authenticity. Remember, becoming magnetic isn't about adding something new. It's about removing the barriers to your natural radiance. You don't need a different face or body. You don't need cleverer conversation starters or more impressive achievement. You just need to allow yourself to be fully present, fully accepting of yourself, and fully real. That's the kind of magnetism that doesn't fade with time or circumstance. It's the kind that draws people to you for who you truly are, not who you're pretending to be. So today, I invite you to put down the mask, to stop exhausting yourself with performance, to trust that your genuine presence is more captivating than any facade could ever be. The world doesn't need another perfect person, but it desperately needs more authentic ones. Be one of them, and watch as the right people begin to find their way to you, not because you tricked them with your appearance or performance, but because they recognize something real in you that resonates with something real in them. That's not just magnetism, that's magic, and it's been inside you all along.